Here we go. My Little Pony: A New Generation has been out for a while now. I've watched it several times and I've had time to ponder it. It's time that I finally do a full-scale review of the movie. My initial impression of the movie was mixed. Right when I finished it, my thoughts were, there were things that I liked and things that I didn't like. Often my opinion of a movie evolves as I have more time to think about it and watch it more, and in this case, my opinion has trended upwards. The movie has problems, but they're not really important considering all that the movie did right and all that it had to do. Following up on G4 was a tall order, and there were lots of ways to do it wrong. Succeeding at a near impossible task is impressive, whatever little details you mess up. So let's break this down into little chunks, because I have a lot to talk about. First chunk, animation. The animation is stunning. I'm generally not a fan of 3D animation. 2D animation can be simplified and still look really good. If they put the full effort into a more detailed 2D style, the results can be spectacular. 3D animation simplified looks hideous. Even 3D animation with a high budget and the most modern technology can sometimes be unappealing. In a lot of modern animated movies, I find that the colors are too bright and the attention to detail in the backgrounds is defeated by their tendency to take artistic license. Worst of all, the character models in most animated movies are just not. The exaggerated features look uncanny in 3D. They're better in 2D. Although, really, I think the best animations are the ones that have character models that are accurate to real anatomy. My Little Pony: A New Generation looks really appealing to me. They used an astonishing amount of detail in both the backgrounds and the characters. They can get away with bright colors because it's Equestria. The characters are supposed to be pastel, and in the backgrounds, they can do things like pink and purple leaves, while Disney would just do an unnaturally obtrusive green. And actually, in this movie, they have the sense to mute the colors when the situation calls for it. As for character models, the ponies are way cuter than any Disney character. However, I have a few issues with the design choices they've made. Basically, the ponies are too human. The thing that makes them cute is that they're ponies. The cutest scenes in G4 were when the ponies made equine sounds or used equine body language. They never used that in the G5 movie. Check this out. That was a lost opportunity to use a horse sound. It would have been cuter, funnier, and it would have reminded us that they are horses despite their human behavior. Along with that, they were inconsistent in their use of pony vocabulary.
Man the splatterpole!
Of course, that's nothing new. It happened all the time in G4, but you'd think with all the effort they're putting into this movie, they could afford to edit the script a little bit. Beyond acting and sounding like humans, they look a little human. I actually appreciate that they dialed back the chibi factor with smaller eyes and heads, but it's not quite right. The eyes are too forward-facing, the faces have a human shape to them, the backs have a human curve to them. Another problem is that the main five seem to have a lack of variety and color. Even the background ponies don't seem to be as colorful as the ponies of G4. I think the single biggest failing is the other animals besides the ponies, which mostly look hideous. I like these little guys, and I like the idea of giving other animals wings, although in execution they look ridiculous. Another problem is how they handled the hooves. I've complained about hooves being too dexterous in G4, but G5 has taken it to a whole new level. They were totally unabashed in allowing hooves to do everything that hands can do. At least in G4, they would kind of fake it to make it. They'd have the hoof kind of wrap around stuff or just not really show what's happening. But in G5, they didn't even try. At this point, it's like VeggieTales. They have invisible hands and we just have to accept that. I would write it off as magic, but magic was not working during most of the movie. Of course, ponies did have their cutie marks, so there must be some magic that works. But I shouldn't have to make up excuses about magic to cover the failings of the animators. Just use their mouths like they did in the early seasons of G4. It was not only more scientifically accurate, horses actually have really dexterous lips, but it had good humor value too.
Great! Now I'll just write it up again.
with my mouth.
I really appreciate some other aspects of the pony design, especially the more varied and more substantial Pegasus wings and the hearts on the hooves. And like I said, however human-ish they are really cute, and that's what matters most. I just think they could have been cuter if they were more horse-like. Despite some design problems, overall I have a high opinion of the animation. I already touched on the sounds, specifically that they didn't use horse sounds, but I need to talk about the voice acting. I like it. I was hesitant when I discovered that all these people are super famous. I don't have a very high opinion of Hollywood stars. It seems the best acted stuff is done with previously little-known actors. I think what happens with Hollywood stars is they know they're hot commodities and that they'll get money here, or if not, somewhere else. So they don't really invest themselves in the movie. Why show any passion for this pony movie when you've starred in bigger stuff and your career isn't on the line? So the studio ends up paying a huge amount of money for a lackluster performance and gets a lot of money in return as everyone goes to watch their favorite stars, but for those of us who are more interested in the story than the actors, we don't really get much. That is not what happened here. All the actors have done a phenomenal job. I'm still worried about the choices they've made because I don't know what's going to happen for the series, but all 5 stars in this movie consistently delivered. Kimiko Glenn deserves particular mention. I thought Izzy was going to be annoying. Glenn's voice made all the difference, as Izzy had a huge variety of expression and emotions, instead of just screaming everything at the high end of human hearing.
So then Pink Pony said, "Fine, be stubborn!"
Instead of being a one-note character like I feared, Izzy was one of the most dynamic and varied ponies in the movie. Izzy's voice was especially good in the songs. Fit Right In was hooves down my favorite song in the movie, mostly thanks to Glenn's dazzling singing voice. I've been listening to it on loop. I caught trumpets doing background in almost every song, so that made me happy. My second favorite song was definitely Danger Danger. I'll talk more about it when I get to analyzing Sprout's character, but for now, from a purely musical perspective, this song is perfect. It rocks real hard. There was an article where the makers claimed they were trying to broaden the styles of music in the movie, and to an extent they did, but they also kind of didn't. The weakness of this movie's soundtrack is that a lot of the songs are really poppy and generic. Together is my least favorite song in the movie, but Glowin' Up and Gonna Be My Day aren't much better, and frankly they all sound the same to me. I didn't like It's Alright at first, but actually it grew on me when I heard it in context. It's a good song to dance to, and it gives the Unicorns a distinct musical style that sounds different from everything else in the movie. Looking Out For You is above average. It's actually the one song that sounds a lot like a G4 song, a pretty good one at that. Overall, the soundtrack is alright. It could have been better, but I actually prefer it to the G4 movie soundtrack thanks to Fit Right In and Danger Danger. For me, the score is just as important as the soundtrack, and if the soundtrack in this movie was alright, the score was excellent. I hear a wide range of instrumentation. I really like the little magic theme they have going. The opening scene in particular has a magical fantasy feel that harks back to the opening of the 2017 movie. My favorite thing about the score, however, is the fun little trick where they match the score with what's happening.
Crystals! 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 Crystals!
She does know we're just looking for the one, right?
Crystals! Crystals!
Crystals! Come on, that's too much fun. It's a simple thing, but I enjoy it immensely. Overall, the visuals, voicing, and music are good. The characters aren't very equine, and a lot of the songs have the same poppy sound, but apart from those points, the movie is well made. But far more important is how well written it is. The most important part to writing is characters, and I have a lot to say there. Let's just go down the list, shall we? Sunny Starscout works pretty well as a protagonist. The danger with having an activist character is if they're always right and come across as preachy. Sunny is far from always right. They gave her some really interesting flaws. This scene deserves some special attention because I think most viewers didn't fully realize what happened here. Hitch was very sincere with Sunny, and she straight up lied to him.
I'm asking you as your friend, Sunny, not as sheriff. Just please try not to pull any stunts today.
Okay. I'll try.
Thank you.
He extended trust to her, and she betrayed that trust. When Hitch kind of loses it with her later and says some hurtful things.
All of that pony unity stuff was just a fool's bedtime story made up by your dad. I'm the last real friend you got in this town. You really want to lose me too?
It's because he's been hurt. It appears to him that Sunny values her pony unity agenda more than their friendship. It seems that Sunny can be a little overzealous, which is an interesting flaw. Another flaw she seems to have is that she is vulnerable to her own emotions. She nearly has a panic attack when she realizes that she is on the run with a unicorn with no magic. Of course, her most vulnerable moment is the Act 2 low point. Ah, the Act 2 low point. Every 90-minute animated movie has it. The 2017 movie had it, and it was actually really good. I thought this argument between Pinkie Pie and Twilight was one of the best written and best acted parts of the movie. Unfortunately, this same scene does not work well in the 2021 movie. Apparently, Sunny is prone to emotional swings, but this scene is too much. Vanessa Hudgens' voice acting and the somber music combined to make it feel like it's this big, heavy scene where everything has gone wrong. But frankly, what even happened? Sunny's half-baked plan based off a broken piece of glass failed. We all knew it wasn't going to work. And even if she didn't know that, she's had this plan for what, 2 days maybe? She acts like all her hopes were pinned on this one thing, when all around her, the thing she had hoped for all along was happening in real time. She had made friends with a unicorn and 2 Pegasi. That was her life dream. And those friends were telling her it's okay, it'll work out, and she just ignores them and goes home. And then she's putting away her ancient equestrian memorabilia like she's given up on the whole dream she inherited from her dad. It's all over because this half-baked plan didn't work. And how does she get out of this emotional pit? Aha! There's a third crystal! Now she's excited again. I knew this wasn't the answer either. It was obvious. I guess the point is that Sunny is emotional, but she really comes off as inconsistent here. From what we knew of her from the beginning of the movie, I would have expected Sunny to be ecstatic at the new friendships she had made, but she seems to have forgotten her goals of friendship, harmony, and pony unity entirely in favor of single-mindedly pursuing the new goal she's had for about 2 days, restoring the magic. The character doesn't feel organic here. I can see the author's hands here, shoving Sunny into the Act 2 low point because that's part of the formula. Also, is it just me, or is the animation really half-baked here? Sunny's integrity as a character is also threatened by the decision to make her an alicorn at the end of the movie. I knew it was coming, but that didn't make it any better. I was so excited to have an Earth Pony protagonist, but she's not an Earth Pony, she's an alicorn. Earth Ponies can't be special. The immediate first thought is that the transformation was temporary, hence the ethereal wings and horn, but she didn't power down at the end of the movie. So unfortunately, we don't know that it isn't permanent. Once again, this does not seem like an organic development of the character, but the creators forcing something on the story to make more merchandise. These issues, the Act 2 low point and the alicorn transformation, unfortunately hold Sunny back from taking Best Pony like I thought she would. She's definitely in my top 3, however. She's very cute, especially as a filly, and I still really like the concept of her character, even if the execution was occasionally lackluster. The pony who ended up being Best Pony was something of an underdog in the months of speculation leading to the movie, Hitch Trailblazer. We had reason to be worried about Hitch. It's too tempting to mistreat the one guy in a girl's show, and the marketing really portrayed Hitch's confident side without giving us much else, so we had every reason to fear that he was going to get the Spike treatment. He was going to be overly confident, totally incompetent, and the butt end of jokes, because that's what we do with males in My Little Pony.
Boys, boys, boys!
But he turned out to be confident and competent. He was actually really good at his job as sheriff, to where he became a serious obstacle to Sunny. He followed her all the way to Zephyr Heights, braving confrontations with unicorns and Pegasi. Although he is confident and a little silly, he's actually a strong leader that all the ponies of Maritime Bay look up to. That is a satisfying subversion of expectations. The best thing about Hitch is that he had the most complete character arc of any pony in the movie. He had a flaw. He didn't believe in pony unity and mistrusted the other pony species, and he overcame it. But the thing that made him overcome it was his defining trait: care. Care for Sunny, care for animals, care for the ponies of Maritime Bay, care for every pony. It was care that drove him to uphold the law as sheriff, because he believed that was the best way to help the ponies he cared about. It was during that campfire scene when Izzy revealed Sunny's old drawing that he finally started to believe in pony unity. He realized that pony unity was something good that would bless the lives of the ponies he cared about, and he decided it was something worth fighting for even more than the rules and his duties as sheriff. Of course, no pony can change in an instant, and Hitch still had hesitations after that scene. His character arc and development were more complete and realistic than any other character in the movie. Another positive of Hitch's character is that he is a conservative officer of the law voiced by a white guy, but he's actually a decent pony. As we attempt to correct the ills of society, it's easy to go too far and demonize those who are in charge. Sometimes they're actually well-meaning folks like Hitch. This is important positive representation. Hitch's character succeeded because he had a complete character arc and because he subverted expectations. He was a mostly masculine character, but he broke the masculine mold in important ways, especially his caring nature, his warm friendship with Sunny, and his special relationship with animals. What a stallion. The other character I was worried about was Izzy Moonbow. I thought she was going to be over-the-top annoying. She actually turned out to be a lot more dynamic than I expected. A lot of the magic was in Kimiko Glenn's voice acting, which I already talked about. In addition, the character was written with complexity that I wasn't expecting. Where Pinkie Pie is friends with just about every pony in Ponyville, Izzy is an outsider in Bridlewood precisely because she is so friendly. It really struck hard in this campfire scene where we see just how naive and how lonely Izzy is. I guess I've mentioned that scene a couple times now. I think this was the best written scene in the movie. Of course, Izzy turned out to be too adorable to be annoying. While her conflict is very different from Pinkie's, she did carry over a lot of Pinkie's muchness. Oh, and also,
I really like her mean!
Pip and Zip get less screen time than the other three. In the case of Zip, or Princess Zephyrina Storm, she managed to shine regardless. She had conflict. She wanted to fly and she couldn't. She put a lot of research into physics and magic to figure it out. She was tired of living the ridiculous lie her mother had crafted. She was one of the few ponies who seemed pretty unconvinced by the racist lies and revisionist history society had created. She was instantly likable. Pip Petals, no relation, okay? I'm Peace Petal, singular, was not so successful. She was really over-the-top social media pop starry, but that's actually not my problem. That's all made up for by the fact that she's really cute, is small and round, and I love it. The problem with Pip is that she didn't get enough character development. She started the movie with everything going her way, so when everything collapsed around her, the concert went awry, the lie was exposed, her mother was put in prison, and there was a warrant for her arrest as well, there was a lot of potential for conflict, and they gave her some time to pout at Zip, which she deserved, but they never gave her the time to turn around. Somewhere in the movie, she decided that pony unity mattered more than all she had lost. We don't know when that happened or why. She was supposed to have a similar character arc to Hitch, but unfortunately it was all implied and never explicitly stated. I don't have as much to say about most of the side characters. Phyllis, Queen Haven, and Alphabeetle are just kind of there. They're all the same character in a way. If some pony else wants to dissect them in more detail, by all means do it, but it sufficeth me to say that they did their job. The character I do want to dissect is Sprout. Celestia, I love Sprout! Coming back to this song, this is really funny, because this is how mobs actually happen. This is exactly what happened during the Capitol riots.
So long, numbers make you strong, millions can't be wrong, especially when they're screaming loudly.
That is the sentiment on which dictatorships are built. It's blown out of proportion and exaggerated because it's a kids' show, but actually Sprout's ascension isn't so far-fetched. 6 years ago, I never would have believed that the president could lose a re-election, claim the election was stolen with no basis, and then stir up a mob and attempt a coup d'etat. That is insane! What makes this song, and Sprout's character in general, work is how realistic it is. Ponies will believe any stallion colt if he says what they want to hear. Beyond the obvious parallels to a certain American ex-president, Sprout is an interesting character. He seems incompetent, but he's actually pretty smart. He figured out just the right thing to say on the spot. Most interestingly, he never really got redeemed. He was never apologetic for what he did. I think at this point he's just worried because he lost and the unicorns and Pegasi got their magic back. He's worried for his future and the future of Maritime Bay. This is a character that I hope we come back to in the series, either to serve as the antagonist or to have a gradual redemption arc. I also like some of the background characters. Thunder, the sneakers collecting Pegasus guard, the poet announcer at the Crystal Tea Room, Sweets the bubblegum pony. There's a lot for the fandom to work with here. Overall, the characters worked very well. I need more from Pip, and the three leaders never really made an impression, but Hitch, Sunny, Izzy, Zip, and Sprout were excellent characters. Now, I've already bashed on the plot. The Act 2 low point was forced, the Alicorn transformation was forced, the end solution, Friendship is Magic, was obvious. Maybe it wasn't obvious to viewers who hadn't seen G4, but they made a big deal of, oh, look, there aren't 2 gemstones, there are 3! That's what we did wrong the first time! No, it's not. Too much emotional weight was hanging on this plot point that was really obvious to me. There are a lot of unanswered questions about these gemstones, these glass-stained windows, and what happened between G4 and G5. I'm fine leaving those unanswered for now. In fact, I don't see any obligation to fill all these holes. G5 is supposed to be able to stand on its own. If they spend the entire first season explaining how the sun and moon are still moving, where T-Rex, Cozy Glow, and Chrysalis are, and who did what with the Memory Stone, it's going to be confusing to new viewers and boring to me. I'd rather G5 tell its own story, which it did in this movie. Another painfully obvious part of the plot was Argyle being dead. It's just so cliche! And of course, we never even hear about her mother. It doesn't matter who's still alive. Who's dead is what defines the character. I've also heard a lot of complaining about the pacing being too fast, but frankly, I don't mind. It was inevitably going to be fast. They had 90 minutes to introduce new viewers to a whole new world and old viewers to a largely modified world. They had 90 minutes to introduce 5 new main characters. It was always going to be rushed, and I'm not holding that against them. The only things I can blame here are Hollywood and capitalism. Okay, so I've bashed on the plot quite a lot, but don't misunderstand me. I don't really care about the plot that much. I don't watch My Little Pony for plots. There's enough fiction out there that you kind of have to copy plots, but the characters and setting can always be original. The failings of the plot only really bother me when they hinder the characters, like how the Act 2 low point made Sunny feel inconsistent. I actually really appreciate that in this movie, they didn't try to do a big, complicated, original plot. They resisted the temptation to bring in some magical big bad. The main 5 didn't have to save Equestria from certain doom. Keeping it small was a good decision that allowed the characters and the world building some extra breathing room. Better than the plot was the world building. I was a little worried to see Equestria in a modern setting, but they did really well with it. All 3 pony species have very distinct aesthetics to them. Maritime Bay is the most real-world-ish, although it is distinct with slightly older technology, no cars, and mechs. I really like this touch, that it was the Earth ponies who built the giant battle mech. Industry is magic. Zephyr Heights is visually stunning. It seems the Pegasi have the most advanced technology in the most successful society. The horse puns never get old. Zephyr Heights works really well because in some ways it's painfully modern, but in other ways it has this old-fashioned aesthetic to it. The gold and white sleek look certainly isn't modern anymore, and the guards with their armor and trumpets definitely seem like a deliberate callback to simpler times. Bridlewood Forest, however, is my favorite location of the 3. The forest is beautiful and enchanting. The construction and technology seem really primitive in comparison with Zephyr Heights, but they do have technology. The best part of Bridlewood is the culture of the unicorns themselves. I like seeing a town where pretty much every pony is a downer all the time. It's a good shift in pace from Ponyville and from the place where I live. and the rituals. Sweet Celestia, these will never get old. Unicorns seem to have come a long way from the snobs they were in G4. Pegasi have kind of taken that place instead. I really think the implication is that the Pegasi defeated the unicorns in a war for Canterlot. There's lots to explore here. I wonder if Earth ponies became the laughingstock of both other species by losing wars or by avoiding wars. I could see that. The unicorns and Pegasi don't take the Earth ponies seriously simply because the Earth ponies did not fight. Overall, despite the absence of magic, the movie does a really good job of giving Equestria a magical feel. From the opening scene onwards, there was this tantalizing view of a lost, magical world. There were ruins, there were signs of what was lost. One of my favorite sets in the whole movie is this abandoned station. The old tech, the broken windows, the travel posters. This shot gives me chills, thinking about how much the ponies have lost. It almost feels like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where something terrible has happened and the folks are just trying to make do with the shattered remnants. Despite being more modern, this movie really feels like a fantasy. That brings me to one of the movie's biggest strengths. It feels like a worthy successor to Friendship is Magic. A lot of bits carried over from G4, like friendship literally being magic, expressions like moons or every pony, the meta, self-aware sense of humor, and the magical cutesy feel. Of course, the main six got their cameo, and I thought this was one of the best scenes of the movie. It seems exaggerated because it's a little girl playing a game with toys, but G4 really was like this. Their friendshipiness was just as over the top as Sunny's little game here. They got the same voice actors, and the animation in this part was just gorgeous. This was a perfect bridge connecting G4 to G5. Even for new viewers, all you really need to understand this scene is that G4 existed. I've already commented on politics in G5, and I stick by what I said. The lessons of this movie are appropriate to our day and age, and what better vehicle to teach lessons about diversity, inclusion, and unity than a show where friendship is literally magic. The humor was pretty on point. Ever since 2010, My Little Pony has had a self-aware approach to humor.
Tell me she's not. The darkness and the shadows, they would always make me frown. She is.
The G5 movie kept that going strong. Some of the funniest moments are the most over-the-top ones. I was worried the G5 movie wouldn't be original, and certainly the plot wasn't, but the overall tone of the movie is pretty distinctly My Little Pony. The protagonist will have a dead father in a Disney movie, but the antagonist won't sing a Nirvana rock song to incite an angry mob in a Disney movie. The unicorns won't do a silly little ritual to ward off the jinxies in a Disney movie. Friendship isn't literally magic in a Disney movie. The movie is so funny, wholesome, cute, and wacky, it just fits right in with the rest of My Little Pony. Despite the daunting task of following up on G4, A New Generation manages to succeed. So then, overall, what do I think? Well, obviously I liked it, but how much? Nailing 4 out of 5 characters isn't bad. The plot is terrible, but I don't care all that much. The world building is spot on. The visuals, acting, and music are all pretty good. The G5 movie stands in the shadow of a giant, but it manages to stand on its own 4 hooves. Its flaws do not cancel out all the ways it succeeded. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I was really close to giving it a 9, but as I was writing this review, I realized I had some little thing to complain about in just about every category. But when I look back on the movie, the things it did right seem way more important. Okay, that's my review. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you liked the video, please subscribe. I know every YouTuber says this, but my subscription rates are really low right now. I get 144 views to a subscription, and it's not just folks who watch 10 seconds of a video and decide they don't like it. I get 6 hours of watch time to a subscription as well. I don't even have 6 hours of published videos. So do a Pegasus a favor and click my cutie mark in the bottom right corner there. Please and thank you. With friendship and love, Peace Petal.